Hello, my name is Martin Kaczynski. I'm the Director of Product and Operations on the SUKU project. Today I'll be providing an overview of the SUKU platform and specifically 3 core modules. First, how to buy and sell on the SUKU marketplace. Then, how we can generate a payment receipt and then verify and validate that payment receipt authenticity using the SUKU Document Authenticator module. And then lastly, we'll be getting an introduction into the SUKU track and trace capability. Let's dive right in. Overview of the SUKU homepage. When a user first logs onto the platform, they're presented with this layered view. On the top, we have SUKU core applications, which include the marketplace, track and trace, document authenticator, payment portal. This is where a user would go in and set up their ACH payment information. And lastly, governance, where if a user holds SUKU, they can vote on project proposals. On the lower half of the screen, we have SUKU application and services that are developed by third-party service providers or third-party technology companies. We recognize that we're not going to be able to provide all the types of services that are relevant to solve supply chain problems. For instance, inventory management, warehouse management, insurance. These are modules that can be provided or built and monetized by third parties on the SUKU platform. Another way you can think of the SUKU layered architecture is that to your typical app store, where Apple, in this case on your iPhone, provides some core features on your phone, such as being able to make a phone call or your calendar. However, third-party providers and developers can create third-party applications through the App Store. The idea here is similar, where we will allow third-party providers to build services on top of the SUKU core. Overview of the marketplace. When the user enters the marketplace, the first thing that they see is the action board. The action board highlights what the user needs to do as a seller, for example, review the number of bids, negotiate, ship, or rate transactions, or as a buyer, they might need to review some matches, make negotiations, send payments, or rate their buying experience. Now, what we've done with the SUKU marketplace is that we've shifted the paradigm from searching to matching. And the way we've done that is through an interest, which you can think of as saved searches, or said another way, an early stage RFP that a buyer would create. How to sell on the marketplace. In the previous segment, I introduced the concept of an interest, or a saved search, or an early stage RFP that the buyer can create in order to purchase something on the platform. Now, before we do that, let's go ahead and look at what it takes to actually create a listing on the platform. The first step in creating our listing is to enter its details. Now, we can create an entire listing from a template that we had previously saved, or from scratch. Here, we'll go ahead and do it from scratch. The first thing I'm doing is entering in the listing name, so Angus Bull for sale, lot of 1. Next, I'm capturing the publish date and the expiration date of this listing. The privacy settings here allow me to indicate whether buyers can bid anonymously and whether or not they can see each other's bids. And then lastly, on this screen, we have the jurisdiction to which this listing will be available to. In this case, we selected the United States. In step 2, we want to enter the actual product details. So here we're going to enter the Angus Bull, and we're going to paste in a description and upload a photo of the bull as well. And here we can upload one or more photos. In our next release, what we're doing is going to be including a WYSIWYG editor for this text area so that the user can specify formatting of the description. Next, what I'm going to do is select matching criteria or parameters that will be used to match against the interest that the buyer creates. Now, if you recall, an interest is a saved search or an early stage RFP that a buyer creates in order to find or match against a listing. So these are some of the parameters that will be used in the matching algorithm to match against that buyer interest that I introduced earlier. Again, here we're selecting the date of birth of the bull, where it was born, and its price. Step 3 is to add product traceability. Now in this case, what I want to demonstrate is that my bull is in fact vaccinated. So what I'm going to do is enter external purchase orders that demonstrate that I have in fact purchased specific vaccines. In this case, I'm going to capture the transaction number that's on the purchase order, the date of the transaction, and then a brief description of the product that's on that purchase order, as well as a lot number and quantity. Here we have a feature as well to upload that purchase order, which I'll demonstrate in the second traceability component. Again, here we're adding an external purchase order. Including the transaction number, date of the purchase order transaction. So here, this vaccine is the 7-way vaccine. And then next you'll see I will upload the purchase order that demonstrates that, in fact, I did purchase this product. In the next step, in step number 4, we want to add terms of sale and supporting documentation. Specifically here, when payment is due, what are the delivery terms, and any additional notes that may be required. Now here I can also upload a detailed contract. I can also upload specific information about my farm. For example, I can upload the fact that I have an organic certified farm, and I can upload the certificate here, as well as a veterinarian report. So these are all documents that I can upload that can further substantiate the claim that I'm making about this specific listing. And then in step 5, we have a confirmation screen where we can review and confirm all the listing details. Now here what you see is a traceability icon, and now when I click on traceability, you can see that my Angus bull, which is the selected asset on the right hand side, links to these 2 vaccinations that we had entered previously. Now this information is always going to be with this listing. Now that we have verified all the information, let's go ahead and publish this to the SUKU marketplace. And here we can see our new listing is active and published on the marketplace. How to buy on the marketplace. In the previous segment, as a seller, we created a listing. Now, how does a buyer actually match against that seller listing? Well, we do that through step number 1, which is create an interest. By clicking on this link, the user is prompted to give a name for this interest. In this case, we'll call it the Angus bull. And also we'll indicate that we're interested in listings from the United States. We're going to select when the interest is published from and when it expires, the price range that we're looking for, in this case, $2,000 to $3,000, and the quantity that we're looking to match against. Down in the lower half section of this screen, we're selecting some of the matching criteria against which we're going to be matched to other listings against. By submitting this interest, you can see I'm taken to an interest and matches screen. And step number 2 is to review the matches to seller listings. And here you can see I matched against the original listings that we created in the previous step. Now step 3 in creating in purchasing on the platform is to review and place a bid. Here you can see that the user viewed the traceability to validate the vaccine information. There are some documents that are available for download. And now I'm going to go ahead and proceed and make an offer or make a bid on this specific listing. Here I enter the price that I'm interested in bidding. I'm only interested in one animal. And I go ahead and confirm where this will be shipped to or delivered to. By clicking on Submit, I place my bid, and I'm taken to the bid confirmation screen, on which I can also export as PDF what we call a bid receipt, and the hash of that document is stored on the blockchain, and that way we can verify the authenticity of the document at a later time. And I'll speak about the document authentication capability in a subsequent segment. Clicking Continue, I'm taken to the Bids and Negotiations page where you can see that the bid status is pending, and then here is my interest with the listing that I have bid on. Seller accepts buyer's bid. In the previous couple of segments, we had created a listing and we had placed a bid based on a match that we received. So here we can see the seller had a notification in their dashboard to review bids, which takes us to the listing and bids page for the seller. And here we can see my listing and the fact that I have one bid. Went ahead and clicked on that to be taken to the bid screen, and then now we're looking at the details of the bid. Here we can see that the offer is for $2,400. We can go ahead and send a quick chat message. Everything looks good. We accept the terms and conditions and accept the bid. Now at this point, the buyer is also notified that their bid has been accepted. And here we can see our original listing with the one bid, and we can see that the listing status is complete, meaning that it is now a closed listing. Buyer makes a payment. Now that the seller has accepted our bid, we have notification to send payments. Clicking on the Send Payments in our dashboard takes us to our Purchase Orders page where we can see our interest and the listing for which our payment needs to be made for. Clicking on View Full Details takes us to the listing detail page. Here we can see that we are owing $2,400. We can send a quick chat message thanking the seller for accepting our bid. And then we can go ahead and send our payment. Now this takes us to a confirmation screen. And here what we've done is we've integrated with our payment processor. So you can see that the banking information is already pre-populated. And then here we are now sending our payment. So in this instance, we're actually calling back to our payment provider. And here you can see the current payment status is pending. And that is because this is an ACH payment, which takes anywhere from 1 to 3 days to clear. So here we see payment pending. And what we'll do is in the back end, we're going to push the payment through. Simply, this is our testing environment, so we can do that. So we're going to go ahead and push the payment through and then refresh this screen so that you can see how we flip from a payment that is pending to a payment that is confirmed. And here you can see a green check mark. And if we mouse over, you can see that the payment is completed. That means the ACH payment from the buyer to seller is now complete. Seller ships order. When an order is ready to be shipped, the seller can click on Ship Orders in their notification dashboard. They're taken to the purchase order screen, and here they can see that a payment has been received for this specific listing. And now we can go ahead and mark this order as shipped. Buyer rates seller. Once a transaction is complete, the buyer has the ability to rate a seller and vice versa. Here we can see the user clicked on Rate Transaction, and then now the user can enter some details about the transaction itself, so a comment as well as a 5-star rating. Here we can see that the rating is now complete. And now what I want to do is look at some of the documentation that has been generated throughout this process. Specifically, let's look at the payment receipt. This payment receipt has been generated by the platform. Specifically, that means that the identity of this document or its hash is stored on our blockchain so that in the future, the validity of this document can be validated against the SUKU platform, ensuring that it was not modified. Overview of Document Authenticator. In a previous segment, we generated a payment receipt document. And we also learned that the hash of that document or its identity is stored on the blockchain. Why don't we go ahead and upload that payment receipt onto the platform so that we can not only validate it, but also see what additional information can be pulled from the platform just by virtue of having that document. As we can see here, this document is successfully verified. Let's dive into the details. So here we can see we have information about not just the document, but also about the transaction. By clicking the link here, we are taken to the Ethereum blockchain test environment where we can actually see that the hash of this document has been stored on the public blockchain. Introduction to track and trace. Let me set the context for this specific segment of the demonstration. Let's assume that Alan has previously purchased an animal on the marketplace. Since then, Alan has processed that animal, and now he is offering primals, in this case, ribeye primal, to be sold on the marketplace. What we'll see next is a listing that Alan has made for ribeye primals that he is looking to sell. In looking at the listing details, we're also going to see the track and trace where we can trace back the animal that was processed, as well as the vaccinations that were indicated that were applied or given to the animal. Let's go ahead and look at that example now. So here we can see is the ribeye primals listing. We're going to go ahead and click on details. And Alan now is going to click on the view traceability. And here's where we can see that we have the ribeye primal on the far right and then the Angus bull in the middle here. To the left, you can see that I have two vaccinations that are identified as part of the linkage. These are the two vaccinations that the original seller had indicated were given to this animal. So from a seller's perspective, what this traceability view enables me to see is all of the inputs that went into my product that I'm listing. For example, in this case, I'm listing the ribeye primal, and I can see the inputs not only as the Angus bull, but also as the vaccines. Let's go ahead and see how else we can view traceability within the SUKU platform by taking the perspective that all we have is the Angus bull information. In order to do that, let's take the Angus bull product ID and see how we can use it in the track and trace module. Introduction to Track and Trace, Part 2. Recall that in the previous section, we were interested in finding the track and trace information of the Angus bull. In order to do so, we copied the product ID of the Angus bull. Now let's see how we can use the Track and Trace module to find information about this bull. We first enter the Track and Trace module and select trace method number 1, where we enter 2212, which is the unique product ID of our Angus bull. Here you can see the search returned the Angus bull, and here I can see that I have both the vaccines. In the top right corner, I have a composed of toggle, and what I can do is I can flip it to see that this Angus bull was used upstream in the ribeye primal. Again, so I can see the vaccines that were used in the bull, but also by toggling the composed of toggle, I can see how it was used upstream. So this allows us to trace products that are on the SUKU platform both upstream and downstream.